Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode here on Talk Daily. Hopefully, you have a great day wherever you are in the world. And let's get to this juicy story, literally flooded juicy story. It's basically about the hurricane, Hurricane Ian. If you don't know what happened, Hurricane Ian, Google it. It's a massive hurricane, affected a lot of people, and also affected a lot of property, and affected a lot of cars. And a lot of cars got flooded. And so this article comes to us from Car and Driving, written by Sebastian Blanco. As always, I have a link to this article and everything else I'll show you in the description below. Basically talks about like don't buy these cars that have been flooded. I mean, obviously, if you are buying a vehicle that the owner tells you, hey, it's been flooded, and you're like, that's cool, I don't care, and then hey, you don't care. But we're just talking about the people who are not aware of this, disaster because it affected a lot of cars. So I'm just gonna read the title real quick. It says Hurricane Ian flooded many cars. Don't buy one of them. And it goes on saying the primary damage from Hurricane Ian was to the people of Florida and the Carolinas. That is North Carolina, South Carolina. But an unknown number of cars were also flooded in the massive storm last weekend, on October 1st, around that time. If you're shopping for a used car in the coming month, you do not want to get a flooded vehicle, especially without knowing that the car once went swimming. Below, we list Car and Driver 4 steps to take if you suspect the car you're shopping for might have been involved in a flood. Now, I'll give you my 2 cents of this whole thing. First and foremost, you see it right there, a Corvette. I mean, the body looks perfect. The car is just, it's been flooded. So is this car straight up going to go to the junkyard and get smashed up? I don't know. If you work for the insurance company, you probably understand how this thing works. I think it's something like 70 something percent of the value of the vehicle has to be written off, or for them to give you a write off for it. Look, it gets really complicated, and that's what this article is all about. So they give you about 4 steps to figure it out. I'll read it for you. They're kind of I have my own way of figuring it out. But anyways, it's saying Hurricane Ian tore through Florida this past weekend, leaving behind at least 100 dead and millions in property damage. Before fading away, Ian dropped more water on North and South Carolina. We don't know yet how many vehicles were ruined in the storm, but at least one McLaren P1 was carried away. Now, first and foremost, 100 dead people, that's horrible, and it's really, really sad. And you can replace cars, who cares, but you can't replace souls. So my condolences to everybody who've been affected by that. That's awful. Now, moving on, so they're talking about 221,000 cars, according to Carfax, been damaged. And say from Louisiana to New York, it damaged estimate that many cars. So, and they give you those steps, and then they're saying you don't want any part of a flooded vehicle, no matter whatever the damage is disclosed, and no matter what assurance you get from the seller. Murray said. So who's Murray? That's American consumer watchdog for the U.S. Public Internet Research Group. Now, there you go. That's that individual. It said, if you suspect the vehicle may have been sustained flood damage, move on. Don't be tempted to roll the dice. You're almost sure to be buying a headache and just wasting your money. And they talk about the steps, how to spot a car been damaged. They say check the visual clues. It might not be obvious at first glance, so check under the seat, the dashboard, mud or sand. Carpet might be loose, stained, or mismatched. If there's any moisture in the headlight, are many components just too new for the car? Rust around the doors, near any fasteners. Say use your nose. Another way to tell, use your nose. Any hint of mold or a decay. Cabin or trunk area is a warning sign. The third option, do some research. This research database, okay, and then the last one, ask for help. So that's why I wasn't too excited about the 4 steps they're giving you. Okay, first they started kind of cute, right? Say if check for visual clues, that might not be obvious at first glance. Check under the seats. Look, man, if your car has been flooded, the first thing you're going to notice if the car has been flooded is the price is very too good to be true. I mean, my first thing, if the price is too good to be true, because look, if the car has been flooded, it's gonna stink. It's gonna reek, and I'll try to clean it. And look, long story short, a lot of the owners, if you buy from a Carfax or if you buy from a reputable company, that will state that's the car been flooded. It's a salvage title, and I always been saying, if you're trying to buy a vehicle and it's salvage title, walk away. I don't buy salvage titles. I understand sometimes salvage could be something as simple like a little dent, but the value of the car is not worth the damage, so they make it salvage. Or if you buy an expensive vehicle, regardless, I don't buy salvage. Move on. It's okay. Just save up, get a different car. If you are on a pinch and you just need a car for a couple of months, then who cares if salvage? As far as how can you tell the car has been in a flood? Those first, what they told you, yeah, use your nose. I mean, mold will be there. There'll be a smell. I mean, if they went through the car and they cleaned it perfectly, then you can't tell. Simple as that. And that's the one thing they didn't tell you. If they already spent a lot of money to clean it, you could. I mean, the car has a lot of sponge in it, especially the seats, and that stuff is gonna absorb that water. But I mean, if they went through it thoroughly, you can technically clean it up, and the car would look like it never saw any water damage. Now, as far as the stains, they're talking about a car that's basically been let dry in the sun. Yeah, it's gonna smell, it's gonna reek, and it depends on the period of time the car been in the water. But as far as the engine, if no water went to the engine bay, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a hydrolock. Did they start the car? I don't know. It depends on whoever touched it and who worked on it. So my advice will be the same. I would look at the main thing. I would look at the pink slip. If there is the pink slip, if it says on it salvage, I will stay away from it. Now they go on saying, finally be a good citizen and report fraud. No, I'm not even gonna answer that one. Okay, for real, like people trying to offload a property and they don't want to get their money out of it. They'll probably do whatever they want to do. Your job as a consumer to buying something is to be smart. And as I said, if it's too price is too good to be true, walk away. I would not buy these cars. Again, as I said, the first thing you notice, they say if they change some component for it to start. Yeah, so again, in conclusion, if the price is too good to be true, I would walk away. If you buy it from a reputable place, if a reputable place, I don't know, whatever brand you're looking for, if a reputable place has it, that's exactly what I buy it from. I would not buy it from someone I don't know who tells me, "Hey, this car is good," or like some small dealer. I need my Carfax and what happened to this vehicle between this time and this time, and as long as you have a data on it and you have some insurance from him, you're good. Him or her, whatever you're buying it from. So that's my conclusion to all of this. Used cars is always kind of difficult to buy, but this is a kind of a because a lot of these cars will eventually come back to the market in some form or the other. I cannot imagine because these cars are going to be sold to the insurance companies and they're going to go from there. And I kind of explained a little bit to you right there how this process go. So it says the Murray, the consumer watchdog, saying there are few ways owners deal with flooded cars. They have insurance and the vehicle is more than 75% ruined. The insurance company will take possession and reimburse the owner. These cars might end up in a used car marketplace, but they'll come up with a salvage title, red flag. Owners without insurance may try to sell their waterlogged ride if the water didn't make the vehicle undrivable. And it's up to these owners to disclose what happened to the car. Some will and some will not. And a lot of them won't. Even if the seller tells prospective buyer that the vehicle briefly served as a boat, the full extent of the damage might not be evident, which bring us to the caveat emptor part of the story and how to detect the water damage. So as I said, is water really horrible to the car? A lot of components in the car are designed to like all the electronics, all the clips you have in there, they have some kind of water resistance to them. Okay, they're moisture and water resistant, but who knows what happened in a flood? It's a very specific situation. I see like this Corolla right here has a dent, a very odd dent right here, maybe because the car was flooded and bumped into a tree or who knows what. So vehicles are not meant to be boats. Okay, in conclusion, they're designed to shrug off some water, obviously rain, right, snow, rain, but they're not designed to be encapsulated in water. Okay, and it's so due to that fact, a lot of their components might fail, especially electronic component. We're talking about an ECU that runs your vehicle. We talk a lot of other electronics, and that is a headache you do not want to deal with. Trust. I had one car that had electronic issue, like ECU fail issue, and oh my god, until I figure out it was the ECU, I went through round and round through sensors and testing broken circuits. You get to that point, you just want to dump gasoline in a car and light it up and say, I'm done with you. And that's what they're talking about, mainly the electronic failure. They're not talking about that, The doors won't work. The brakes won't work. No, it'll be fine. The issue, the brakes might be, I'm not talking about the ABS unit, but as you see what I'm saying, right? The electronic is component is the one will be affected and damaged primarily due to water and moisture. Now, as far as the engine, the piston, the transmission is sealed. I don't see how water can get in there. There's a breather in it, but the engine, water lock, hydro lock. But again, that's something you could take off the spark plug and run the engine, get some of that water out. But the problem is the electronic. Everything else that runs your vehicle, from climate control to your engine ECU, that's the thing that will be affected with water. And the issue is not as simple as change that one sensor. It's obvious. You wouldn't know because the behavior would be so odd of the vehicle, or the damage would be so odd. Depends on what component went bad. That it's a headache trying to get to it. And again, you're buying a car because you need it, right? It's not a collectible, right? It's not like when I buy a car and I'm trying to restore it, and I don't care all these issues. I just take my time every weekend. No, you're buying a car you could use. So, yeah, again, so that's what this whole article is all about. So, anyways, hopefully you learned something new. Once again, my condolences to everybody who've been affected by Hurricane Ian. It's a disaster. What I live in my neck of the woods, we don't have hurricanes, but I would imagine how scary it would be to have that much volume of water, and all this situation occurs with Ian. So again, my condolences for everybody who lost someone in that hurricane, and be safe out there. And hopefully this little article kind of gives you if this story helps one person not to buy a car that could have been a headache, I feel like I did my job. And again, thanks to Sebastian Blanco for writing such a good article, and thanks to Gordon Driver for making awareness of this subject. It's a serious subject, it's your money. Be smart how to use it. And as always, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.